You know, it's nice to be able to sit down on the job once in a while. You're probably wondering, what am I doing anyway? Well, I'm inspecting this headlight very closely. I'm looking inside here to see if I've got any moisture or condensation building up inside the lens. I had a problem on the left side. You can see that one had a lot of moisture, and that was going to require removing the headlight, and we've already done that, but I'm over here on the right side, and I want to check this one out very closely also. But this one looks okay, but I am concerned about it because it has a certain exposure to future moisture problems. I see this on a number of these chassis, and it has to do with how the headlight is mounted into the car and what type of exposure it has to water runoff. I'm not talking about water hitting the headlight while you're driving down the road. Although if you have, like in this case here, if you have a rock chip, that is a surefire way that you're going to get moisture inside the headlight, because you're driving down the road at 70 miles an hour and that moisture is going to force right into that little rock chip. So if you do get a rock chip like that one, you want to immediately put a dab of silicone on there to stop that. That'll help, really help prevent the moisture buildup from rock chips. But what I'm talking about is problems associated with the water runoff from the hood and the fender. And the W220 chassis is one of the most susceptible to this. So I'm going to show you now what that problem is up close, so you can kind of check your own car out, whether it's a 220 or a 126 or a 201 or whatever. Certain headlights, certain body styles are more prone to this problem than others. Notice here where the seam is. This is where the headlight lens attaches itself to the headlight body, and it runs right at this point all along underneath this rubber seal. Now the rubber seal has deteriorated away here, but if you look up here at the fender, all the water coming off the hood and rolling down this channel, guess where it's going to go? In a heavy rain, you got water running down here, it's going to run off over here, and it's going to drip right on this part of the headlight. And it'll end up rolling down this seam all the way down underneath this seal. And I think that's what was happening on the other side, the left side. The seal had given away right in here, and water coming down through here was dripping on this area. So not all headlights are located in this area. And if, you know, next scene I'll show you one that doesn't have this problem. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, clean this up, and I'm going to run a light bead of clear siliconized caulking down through here. And then I'm going to get some really heavy-duty rubberized zip tape, and I'm going to recreate this seal and shove it under this lip. So any water running down off this fender channel here is not going to be able to get to that seam. And this is typical on other cars. I'll show you a 201 chassis later that has a foggy headlight, and let's see if that could also be the problem and what we will do to fix that one. This is the headlight on a W140 chassis. It's engineered a little bit differently. If you see the channel, it runs right down here, and then there's a lip where it actually drops in behind the headlight. And then this headlight has a very nice seal which covers up over the top of the seam here. So you won't find the same problems in these chassis. I'm not saying this is the only reason that moisture gets in behind a headlight lens, but it's one of the most common. And when you see a runoff channel like this that's missing that seam, you should be happy. This is an aftermarket European headlight installed in a 190E W201 chassis. Look at the amount of moisture building up inside this headlight on the back of the lens. Now, this is a aftermarket depot headlight, and they are all kind of glued together here. And you can see it looks like that sealant is starting to deteriorate. Notice here, we don't have a runoff problem, but the hood, if I were to close the hood, you can see the hood rolls right down here. And so any water coming off the hood can be driven back in through here, like if you're driving, and will come through this this deteriorating seal. It's almost like a glue caulking on these lenses here. What I'm going to do in this case, and there's no way I'm going to take it apart, but I can pull the back cover off and get a hairdryer and dry this all out, and then I'm going to come back here and I'm going to reseal this top edge, because I'm pretty sure the problem is right here. I'll just, with some clear silicone, I'll just run a bead right along here and let that dry, and I won't have to remove and take this headlight apart. There were two reasons why I removed this headlight from this S500. Number one, not only was it very wet and damp inside, but it was dirty. So even if I were to dry it out with hair dryer, you know, it wasn't going to be a real clear headlight. So I wanted to get it out. And number two, this particular headlight, you can actually remove the plastic cover from the body. Not all headlights can you do that with. So those were the reasons why I decided to pull this out and take it apart. And it wasn't as easy as some other headlights I've done. One of the problems with these, there's quite a bit of heat around here, and these plastic clips that hold this lens on, you know, right along here, they get real hard. And sure enough, as hard as I tried to be so careful, I broke a couple of those clips off. So I'm going to have a challenge getting this back together. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to clean this all up. I'm going to make the modifications to the clips, and I'm going to run a bead of silicone and reseal this. I'm going to, you know, not just deal with a gasket. I want some silicone in there. I know it's going to be very hard to get it apart in the future, but if it leaks again, I'll probably just go ahead and get a replacement headlight. You know, I could get a good used one, or I can upgrade my headlights. And when I'm done, this is going to take a little while. When I'm done, I'll come back and just kind of show you the little modifications I made to those broken clips, and how I put the silicone and got it on the seal without making a huge mess. So now you get to see just how much fun I had getting this lens off the headlight. I started on this lower upper corner here. You kind of want to start in this corner and then work this way and pull the lens out as you go. Prying that up, I popped that one up, and then I gently pried this one and popped this one up. Then I had a little bit of a problem with this one because it's got a crack in it. So, oh boy, so I just very carefully, and once you get it free, you want to kind of pry the lens forward a little bit. Okay, now the clips are sitting on top and free of these three tabs. And you got to be really careful you don't bump it, because you're going to end up locking it right back in place. Now I'll come down here to the side. I'll squeeze it together. Man, some of these are so tough. Okay, I'm going to stop because I don't like the way this one's going. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my cameraman in here, and he's going to squeeze the lens and the housing together while I pry that. You won't be able to see me do that, but this is something I highly recommend. If these won't come off, do not force them, or you're going to break the plastic. So we'll do that, and then we'll come back and see if we had success. Let me show you how I repaired this lens seal. First off, this is the caulking that I like to use. It's by DuPont. It's a siliconized acrylic caulk. It's not straight silicone. I tell you, you trying to do this job with a straight silicone caulking, you are going to have a mess like you can't believe. You'll have it all over your hands. You'll have it all over the headlight. And this is nice. I mean, this provides a very effective seal, yet it's water cleanup. And it's very easy to work with. It doesn't dry as fast, doesn't tack up as fast as silicone, so you have a little more time to work with it. Now, when I put the bead around, you can see it's still white. This dries clear, but it goes on white, so don't let that alarm you. Once this dries out, you won't be able to see the caulking. But I snapped the top in, and then it came to the bottom. You can see here, right here, and right here. These were the two clips that broke off when I removed the lens. And what I did is I used strapping tape. Now, strapping tape is the only tape that you can use because you have to squeeze this lens together and run tape across it and have it hold tight against the seal. Any other type of tape is going to stretch. So you can see I put quite a bit of strapping tape here, and down in this corner. That sucked the lens in tight against the body. Then I came in and placed these clips on, and using very short Phillips sheet metal screws, I drilled small holes and put two screws on each one of these clips. So I'll let it sit overnight, and once it's dry, I can pull the tape off, and then the clips will hold the lens to the body. So I'm kind of excited to get this headlight back on the car and get rid of that awful moisture inside the lens.